Okay, we're going to be looking at S14, complete a table and graph a linear function. So for the IXL, we need to know the definition of a function. And the definition of a function basically is an expression or rule that defines a relationship between an independent and dependent variables. So if we think about functions, the way we've been working with them, let's see. We're going to say that I have f of x equals 3x plus 1. So this is a function with respect to x. So let's go ahead and name the parts. You should know that the x is the input, the independent, and the domain. You should also know that the f of x is the output, the dependent, and the range. Now, and the f of x is very specific. The f of x is also equivalent to y. Okay, and then the operation is like the rule. So the rule is basically the same thing as like the rule is the math operations, which in our case is PEMDAS. And then the graph of the function. The operation or the function that's giving us is f of x equals 3x. So we're going to go ahead and make a table. And we have x, 1, 0, 1, 3. And then what you're saying is that x equals 0, x equals 1, and then you're also saying that x equals 3. So we're trying to find our output, which is the f of x. So we're just going to do some scratch work. X equals 0. So 3 times 0 equals 0. So that's 0. It's also equal to y, where x equals 1. 3 times 1 equals 3. So x equals 1, y equals 3. And then where x equals 3, 3 times 3 equals 9. So that means that x equals 3 and y equals 9. So that means I have the ordered pair of 0, 0, 1, 3, and 3, 9. And this is what I want to graph. Okay, so I have 0, 0, and then I have 1, 3, and then I make sure that I have a 3, 9. It's right there. Let me submit. Oops, we forgot to fill in the table. So that's going to be 0, 3, 9. Submit. Right, next problem. F of x equals x plus 1. This is a longer table. It's a little bit more math. Remember, the f of x is the same thing as y. So x equals 1. So x plus 1 equals 1 plus 1 equals 2. And I have 4. X equals 4. So 4 plus 1 equals 5. X equals 5. 5 plus 1 equals 6. So I I get 5 and 6. X equals 9. So 9 plus 1 equals 10. So it's 9, 10. All right. Remember, you only need 2 points to plot a line. So our points are 1, 2, 4, 5, 5, 6, and 9, 10. And our input for 1 is the output's going to be 2. Output is 5, 6, and 10. So we need 0.12 and then 0.45. Okay, our function is f of x equals x minus 8. So in this case, we're saying that x and f of x, they gave us 3 points, -1, 7, and 8. X equals -1, so I have -1 minus 8 equals -9. X equals 7, so 7 minus 8 equals -1, 7, -1. And then x equals 8, so 8 minus 8 equals 0. So those are our points, -1, -9, 7, -1, and 8, 0. So if we input that for -1, I get -9. 7, I get -1. 8, I get 0. And to graph, here we go. Oops. Our first x value is x equals -8. So that's f of -8 equals 2 times -8 plus 7. So again, you perform order of operations. So 2 times -8 is -16 plus 7. So I get -9. It's going to be my y value. So f of -8 is -9. Then I have x equals -2. So f of -2 equals 2 times -2 plus 7. You're just performing the operation. So I want to go through this a little bit more slowly. We're going to multiply the 2 and the -2 first. So I get -4. Then you rewrite the 7. So every new line is a new equation. And then from here, you're going to add -4 plus 7. And then my solution is going to be 3. That's what I'm going to put in the table. And then lastly, f of 1 equals 2 times 1 plus 7. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 7 equals 9. And to look at the operation again, what we did is we multiplied 2 and 1. And then from there, we added 2 plus 7, and that's how I got 9. So as we put this together, -8 is -9, -2 is 3, and 1 is 9. Back. We have to graph now. So what we want to graph is -8, -9, -2, 3, and 1, 9. So -8, -9 is down here. Then the second point was -2, 3. So I go to left and then up 3. Let me submit. So in the case where f of x equals -10, for all these points, it doesn't matter the x, all of the y's are going to equal -10. And then when we graph this, we have to graph each point individually, and those will all be a horizontal line, because you're telling, just with f of x equals negative 10, you're saying that negative 10 is equal to the y. So we have negative 9, negative 10. Okay, so that's negative 9, negative 10. And then negative 8, negative 10. So negative 8, negative 10, negative 9, negative 10. And then just all of them are negative 10. We submit. Okay, so we have f of x equals negative 1/5 times x plus 1. And our table is negative 10, negative 5, 0, 5, and 10. So where x equals negative 10, we're going to substitute it. So wherever we see an x, we're just going to write a 10 or negative 10. So negative 1/5 times negative 10 plus 1. When I multiply fractions, multiply going across. Negative 1 times negative 10 is positive 10. 5 times the denominator is just 1, so it's just 5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 plus 1 equals 3. Next, I have x minus 5, so f of negative 5 equals negative 1/5 times negative 5 plus 1 equals 5 divided by 5 plus 1, so 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then next, x equals 0. So f of 0 equals negative 1/5 times 0 plus 1. So 0 times anything is just 0, so 0 plus 1 is 1. And then next is x plus 5. So f of 5 equals negative 1/5 times 5 plus 1. Multiply fractions going across. So negative 5 times, or negative 1 times 5 is negative 5, divided by 5 plus equals negative 1. And I add the 1, so negative 1 plus 1 is 0. And then lastly, x is 10. F of 10 equals negative 1/5 times 10 plus 1. So negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So I'm just going to substitute that back into my table. So I get 3, 2, 0, no, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1. And then when I graph it, negative 10, 3, negative 5, 2, submit. F of x equals 3/5 x minus 4. The table is x equals negative 10, x equals negative 5, and x equals 5. So where f of x equals negative 10, it's 3 over 5 times negative 10 minus 4. And then when you multiply fractions, you multiply going across. And since negative 10 is a whole number, the denominator is going to be 1. So when I simplify, 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. 5 times 1 is 5, and then minus 4. And then the next step is to simplify the negative 30 over 5. It's negative 6. Bring down the negative 4. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. So negative 10, the f of x is also negative 10. Okay, so for negative 5, f of negative 5 is equivalent to 3/5 times negative 5 minus 4. And then when I multiply going across. And the negative 5 has a 1 underneath it. So 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 5 times 1 is 5. bring down the negative 4. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. Bring down the negative 4. So negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. And then last, x equals 5. So f of 5 equals 3/5 x minus 4. So I get 3/5 times 5 minus 4. Multiply fractions going across. The 5 has a 1 underneath it. So 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5. Bring down the negative 4. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 3 minus 4 equals negative 1. So my totals are negative 10, negative 7, and negative 1. And then when I graph, I get 10, negative 10. And then I get negative 5, negative 7. Again, negative 5, negative 7. Let me try that one. 5, negative 1. So weird. Okay. So graph this function. You're going to pick your own points. You have to make sure that you pick points that can be graphed. So let's just pick like 2 and 4. Remember, you only need 2 points to graph a function, but it has to be on the table or on the plane. So my first x is going to be 2, so I have f of 2 equals 2 times 2 minus 16. So 2 times 2 is 4 minus 16. And then 4 minus 16 is negative 12. So it's negative 12. Let's see if that's on the table. 2 negative 12 is not on the table. So I have to pick another number. So x equals 4. F of 4 equals 2 times 4 minus 16. 2 times 4 is 8 minus 16 equals negative 8. So I have 4, negative 8. And then I have to pick another number that I can graph on the plane. So 4, negative 8 are a point on the plane. Let's try 6. So x equals 6. F of 6 equals 2 times 6 minus 16. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 16 equals negative 4. So for negative 6, I get negative 4. The 2 points that I am going to graph are going to be 4 and negative 8 and 6 and negative 4. So I get 4, negative 8, 6, negative 4, and submit. So this is not asking you to submit a table. So where f of x equals negative 1. Remember that f of x is the same thing as y. So f of x equals negative 1 is basically saying y equals negative 1. So wherever the y's are, so this is the x and that's the y. So you're saying the numbers that go across are equal to y. So like y equals negative 1 is right here. So the line is going to go left and right. So to the left and to the right at negative 1. Make it a little thicker. It's a pretty thick line. So when we graph this, f of -1, you just need 2 points on -1 and submit. Okay. This is one of those situations where you want to pick the multiple. Remember, this is what's known as a proportional function. So f of x equals -1/8 x. So again, you want to pick a multiple of 8. So for sure I have the origin, so x and f of x. I'm going to try 0 and 8. X equals 0. F of 0 equals -1/8 times 0. So just 0 times anything is 0. And then x equals 8. F of 8 equals -1/8 times 8. So again, when we multiply going across. So -1 times 8 is -8. And -8 is going to be times 1. So I get 8. So my answer is -8/8. That equals -1. I get 0, -1, 0, 0, and then 8, -1. Submit. That's it. All right, have a good day.